Welcome back, gamers. I'm finally here to share with you what I think are the 10 worst victim perks in the game. You all crushed the goal of 50 likes on the last one, and I thank you very much for that. So let's see if we can maybe get 51 likes this time around. And without further ado, let's get into it. Number 10, Light on Your Feet, which I believe this is only on Connie, Leland, Anna, Julie, and Maria. Grandpa is 100% less alerted by the noises you make during the start of the game. Now this is at number 10 because while I overall don't think this is a very good perk, it still does have some uses. So if you manage to, play a full squad or at least play 2 or 3 people with this perk and maybe the other 2 folks are still playing silently, if you don't have a Leatherface, you can really speedrun every single basement door like kind of crazy. As long as the family doesn't, feed Grandpa to wake him up, you can get everything done quick because Grandpa will be 100% less alerted, meaning no matter what you do, you're not going to wake him up, until you open that door or the family feeds. And that really can be pretty powerful. It doesn't work if you're you're playing with randoms and one dude spams and then immediately opens and then your perk is gone for the game. And that's why I do think it is one of the worst perks, because truly once Grandpa wakes up, this perk is useless. It's kind of a high risk, high reward, I guess, for the early game, but still it's on the list. It's not very good. Don't use it. Number 9, Last Ditch Effort, which should be on Connie, Leland, and Anna. Dropping below 30% of max health will automatically equip a bone scrap. This only occurs if you have an empty inventory slot for 5 uses. And I know now, grapples were really bugged for a while, so this perk was extra bad then, but even now that they've fixed it in the most recent update, it's still not very good. And we actually just got confirmation that they're going to be changing the grappling mechanic altogether, so who knows if this perk will even stay the same or what's going to happen with it. We'll have to learn more about grapples here soon enough, but while you might get some use out of this perk, it's not going to be good on anyone who doesn't have high strength. If you can use it on Leland or Anna, it's not bad. I don't really know why Connie has it. I wouldn't run it on her. You can maybe be a sneaky Connie with some high strength, catch some people off guard. That is pretty fun to do. But still, for the most part, if you're hitting below 30% health, you're pretty darn close to death anyway. And at that point, you're almost best to either well or pray a teammate can save you. So that's my thoughts on that. Number 8, Twinkle Toes, which is on Connie, Anna, Sunny, Julie, Danny, and Maria. You have a 75% chance to not trigger bone charms while also completely avoiding chickens. Now, this perk's bad, however, it does have some use. Triggering the bone charms isn't a big deal, but if you can completely avoid the chickens, that's actually kind of clutch on a few maps. The ones that instantly come to mind are that of Slaughterhouse, where you kind of have a chicken near really every key door there, and if you don't stab them and you don't play stealthy around them, you're going to get exposed by the chicken very easily. And for the most part, that's why I do think it is maybe worth running this perk here and there depending on what your build is. But at the end of the day, there's still so many other way better perks out there that you're best not to waste your time with good old Twinkle Toes. And that brings us to number 7, and this is actually going to be a little bit of a combo number here. I'm going to throw in Efficient Backstabber and Efficient Grappler, with the slightly worse one I think being Efficient Backstabber, which is on Connie, Leland, Anna, Julie, and Maria. Sneak attacks have a chance to not consume a bone scrap, and that chance is 20%. And then as for Efficient Grappler, Leland, it's a Leland only perk. You have a 20% chance to keep your bone scrap after using it in a close encounter. And I could be wrong. I think this is only Leland. I tried to look through all the perks as best I can, so some of these might be off, so please forgive me if that's the case. But I don't think either of these perks really are that good, especially the Backstabber one. Backstabs are so finicky in this game. They did say they're working on that as well. We actually got that notification today as well. So, maybe that's going to change a little bit in the future, but still 20% chance is so low that, it's not worth your time. Again, there's better perks. You're going to want to use a different one. I promise you that. Maybe the 20% comes in slightly clutch here and there if you're going for a grandpa backstab or something, and then using that to grapple someone. I don't know, it just doesn't there's so many better perks, and a 20% chance is not great. It's not very high. You know, even what is it, Nancy's one perk has a 40% chance to save her barbed wire, and even that feels like it's like a 5% chance sometimes. So but I've used these perks a couple times, and I'm not sure I've ever gotten value. Maybe once I was able to keep my bone scrap. Moving on, number 6, Well Trained, which is on Connie, Leland, Anna, Sunny, Danny, and Virginia. After jumping down a well, all bone scrap and unlock tools within 25 meters are highlighted for 30 seconds. So this perk's not great. I maybe should have had it a little bit lower on the list, but you know, it's not terrible. It's not very good though. It's maybe useful at times if you're dropping down a well and want to get your bearings on what your closest bone scrap is, so you can prepare for a family member to come down. But you know, it's not super useful because unlock tools are pretty easy to find, and really the bone scraps are at the bottom of every well. So if you're dropping down, there's probably gonna be bone scraps there anyway. You just gotta use your eyes a little bit. Now, you know, I don't really think there's much value to this perk other than, you know, maybe if you're new, it could be useful for when you're jumping down wells. You know, maybe you pair it with stunt double or something, but for the most part, I wouldn't really waste my time with this perk. Number 5, Knock Knock, which is a starter perk, maybe a little bit of a controversial pick here as it is a starter perk, so everyone has it. After escaping your restraints, all victim exits are highlighted for 60 seconds. Now, don't get me wrong, if you're a new player, this is pretty nice, I guess, because you're spawning in the basement, you're like, how the heck do I get out of here? You know, if you're new on a map, so when the new maps come out, maybe this would be worth running for a veteran player. But really, once you play the game for a little bit and become slightly comfortable with the basements, there's no need for this perk. It's really pointless. You know, maybe there's some people out there who like to have the door knowledge off the rip. I don't know of anyone that needs that, but you know, 60 seconds is a long time, so I guess that's nice, but you're best to use a different perk. That's all there is to say about that one. And number 4, Dead Weight, which is on Leland, Julie, and Sunny. When you're the last victim alive, the family's proximity radius is 60% smaller than usual. This is one of those perks that like uses the proximity radius, which I really don't know how many people even pay attention to that or are bothered by it on either side. I guess it, you know, it can maybe be a little bit more stressful as a victim, and being that it only applies when you're the last victim alive, it's just not, you might not get use out of it. You know, how often, you know, I'm sure there's people out there who are constantly the last victim alive, so maybe this would be useful. But again, there's other perks for if you are the last victim alive that give you a way better buff than what this does. The family proximity radius, while, you know, is slightly annoying, and having it being smaller would maybe be helpful, it's not a big deal at the end of the day. You know, most people, I think, just kind of have gotten used to ignoring it, and that's why it's pretty low on the list here. Number 3, Am I Bleeding, or more commonly known as the SOS perk. I'm not really sure if you polled like half of the TCM player base and you read them the description of this perk, they either A, wouldn't know what it was, or B, would say, yeah, that's SOS, I know that perk, that's SOS. And I would be very curious how many people know it's actually called Am I Bleeding. Anyway, this is on Leland, Sunny, Danny, and Virginia. When a victim is below 40% health, you are highlighted to all other victims. Holy moly, is this perk trash. I don't know if there's anyone out there who has used this perk other than for memes. You know, 40% is, while, you know, you're under half health for that, like, how often do you get healed by other players in this game? Because generally when you're under 40% health, you're probably going to be in the basement, you're probably going to be looking for health potions for yourself anyway. And unless you've got some super altruistic teammate that just tends to hoard the health items, like, what's the point of this other than to not run close to this person? I guess, you know, it's kind of like maybe Bond in Dead by Daylight, where if you see your teammates injured, you can run the other way. I guess maybe that's a better use for it, but again, sometimes in situations in TCM, you're kind of just running for your own life too, and you know, you see that crippled Sunny over there, you might have to run by him and send him to the nether realm so you can get away. But Not a very good perk. Don't use it. Number 2, and this one might be a little controversial, but my goodness, it is going to be Sneaky Pete, which is on Connie, Anna, Julie, Danny, and Virginia, and Maria. And all it does is increases your stealth by 7 points. That's it. What is stealth used for in this game? Not much. Maybe a little bit of use when you are grabbing items. That's about the only time you'll ever see any use. I really want them to change the way stealth is implemented in this game, as I think there's a lot to be desired there. But yeah, all this does is increase your stealth by 7. I'll admit, when the game came out, I was a Sneaky Pete user. I am not ashamed to admit that. Do I regret my decisions at the time? Yes, very much so. I have not ran this perk since then, other than just to level it up on different victims for the memes. But oh my goodness, Sneaky Pete. It's just such a meme in the community now. If anyone watches Unums on Twitch, he uses this as his player name quite often. So if you ever run into a Sneaky Pete, that's probably who it is. Sorry to out him. But yeah, so don't use Sneaky Pete. It's bad. It's really bad. If you load into a lobby and you see someone running it, just assume they're probably a bad teammate. That's all there's to say about that. Or they're new. They're new and probably bad. All right, so here we're gonna have a little interjection of the honorable mentions. And the first one I'm gonna list here is Tool Tracks, which is another starter perk. After escaping your restraints, all unlocked tools within 50 meters will be highlighted for 90 seconds at the beginning of the match. And once again, this is a starter perk, so it's on all victims. And really, this perk is not good unless you're a new player. If you really have so much struggle finding an unlocked tool in the basement, then I guess go ahead and use this. But really, the only time I would use it again is if a new map comes out, maybe it's worth using. And B, if you're brand new, you're gonna have to use one of these 4 perks to start with. So this is I guess a not very good one. I'd probably use the other 3. But yeah, it's not great for most of the player base, so that's why it's just an honorable mention, because some players still have to use it. Next honorable mention, Jump Scare on Connie, Julie, and Virginia. Triggering bone charms and chickens increases your sprint speed by 10% for 12 seconds. So now this one, I wasn't sure if I should have put on the actual list or even not even mention it. I don't think it's a very good perk, but anytime you can get a little bit of movement speed buff, that's kind of a nice thing, especially if you are constantly able to run by some chickens and bone charms. You can kind of crack your speed out a little bit. I don't believe this perk stacks, but that 10% over 12 seconds of time, and as soon as you are done with it, if you trigger another one, that really does kind of, you can see the difference that it makes when you're being chased by a family member. While subtle, it's still effective. Is it the best perk? Definitely not, but I figured it was still worth mentioning. And our last honorable mention is going to be Lucky Lockpicker on Connie, Anna, and Maria. The very first time you use an unlocked tool to open a door, it has a 50% chance to not be consumed. All right, so this is a little bit of a controversial perk as well. I know some people really like this, but man, you got to stop using it. It's a 50% chance on only your first door. So here's the thing. If you're running this as Connie, Anna, and Maria, are you ever opening a basement door? Probably. And as soon as you do that, this perk is useless after that, and you might not even get value. It's a 50% chance to even work. And the next thing is, if it did work, okay, cool. I guess you have that tool to either do another basement door or go up and maybe try and speedrun. And if it didn't work, well, then you're still in the basement. Just go grab another tool. I don't really get the point of this perk, but I guess in some speedrun situations on Family House or gas station, maybe it would have some good use if you can really conserve those tools. So that's why I didn't want to really include it on the list too much, but still figured worth mentioning it as an honorable mention. All right, so that brings us to the worst perk in the game at number 1, and that is all of the under 5% health perks. My goodness, has anyone ever used these in a game? There's 5 of them. They are I Can Make It, Resilient, I Can Do This, Hush or Die, and Wax On, Wax Off. And all of these are basically exactly the same. It says when under 5% health, receive 15 points towards endurance, toughness, proficiency, stealth, or strength, 1 for each perk. And these are all on Danny. And let's see, hold on. If assuming I got this correct, I Can Make It for endurance is on Connie, Anna, and Julie as well. The toughness one, resilient, is also on Anna and Maria. Proficiency is only Danny. Strength is only Danny, and the stealth one is on Danny and Maria. I don't think I've ever seen anyone use these in a game. I myself have not used them other than for recording these videos and just memes here and there. You know, I guess maybe you could get a little bit of some clutch use out of them here and there, but you know, the reason why they're so bad is when you're under 5% health, you're dead anyway. You know, if you're the last person alive, or not even the last person alive, that bleed out's still kind of kicking in, and 5% health is not very much. You're dead at that point. One more hit, you are dead. So there truly is no point in using any of these perks. And I get it, 15 points is a lot, but how often are you running around the map at 5% health without a family member right on you? That's what I just don't get. I do think these perks could use a rework, or at least maybe buff them a bit. But again, you don't want to buff them too much, because if you make it like 25% health, that's maybe a decent range where, you know, you can take 1 or 2 hits, you feel pretty safe, you can at least well without bleeding out. But like, even then, maybe it's too strong. I don't know. 5% is just so bad. That's why I do think these are the worst perks in the game. Don't use them under any circumstances unless you want to troll your friends. So yeah, that's it. These are what I really think are the worst 10 perks in the game at the moment. Do you agree or disagree? What did I miss? Do you think there's a trash perk in the game that I should have put on the list? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing. Let's hit those 51 likes. And that's all I have for today. Thanks for watching. Have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.